All right, here we are, episode 71. And I wanted to cover something that we may not have paid a lot of attention to before, which is the cash flows behind bonds and what to remember, especially during a time like this. A couple of quick notes to new subscribers. There is a roadmap or a playlist, so please use that. The sequential order of listening to the show is the best, so you're not picking something up halfway. There is a website, yieldnerd.com, and that organizes these thoughts into a more consumable manner, packages the videos into smaller sections, and so on. My usual disclaimers: I am not giving you investment advice. You make the decisions. I am sharing what I have learned. I am not a wealth management advisor. I do not have any product to pitch. I don't have merchandise or sponsors. I don't do product and politics either. This is fact. You make the decisions. All right. How is today's episode organized? We're going to talk about where we are in terms of interest rates, how we got to where we are, and then we're going to take a bond bought at par and look at the pre-tax, post-tax implications. Same thing for a bond bought at a discount and a bond bought at a premium, and then say where do we go from here for the rest of 2023. Now, I don't have to tell you this. Just a couple of years ago, the whopping interest rate was 0.25%. And there was talk about going to negative interest rates when COVID was at its peak. Today, it is at 5.5 and in all likelihood going higher. And there is talk about some rate increase maybe next year. Nobody knows. At the end of the day, inflation needs to be tamed before the rate goes down. And so if you went today to look at bonds, you are going to find par bonds, discount bonds, premium bonds. And so that is why I thought I would go through cash flows. And let me explain what I mean. A par bond is one where I give you $100 up front and I wait for your tomato farm to come alive. And if the tomato farm analogy does not make sense, watch this video right here. And while the tomatoes are growing, I get my coupon payment of $2 every 6 months. And we keep doing this until I say either I'm done or the tomato farm reaches maturity. And at that point, you give me back my $100 and I say, thank you. That is the par buy. And I take my 100 and I go reinvest it. If I paid you 100 to get back my 100, I bought it at par. If I paid you 97, but you paid me back 100, then I bought it at a discount. If I paid you 107 and you paid me back only 100, then I bought that program at a premium. How exactly does this work? How much money hits your bank and when? That is what we're going to review. Here are a whole bunch of par buys, and as you can see, every treasury auction is a par buy. You can go find par value bonds where the price is exactly 100 and the coupon matches the yield to maturity, and we're going to talk about all of those as well. And so you can see stuff like this today in the market. Any new issue bond, any auction bond, these are par bonds. What is the second category? The second category is the discounted bond. The discounted bond is where instead of giving you 100 up front, I might give you 96. And I wait and wait. And instead of giving me $2, maybe you only give me $1. And you say, hey, you know what? When I pay you the money back, I'm going to pay you 100. So be nice. I don't want to give you $2 every 6 months. I'll just give you $1. And when the bond matures, even though you only gave me 96, I will give you back 100. That is the concept of a discounted bond. And you can go today and find many discounted bonds in all categories. Here are a whole bunch of corporate bonds that only sell 92 something cents on the dollar. So as you can see, the discount is phenomenal. So in theory, if you had this bond that you bought at 92 cents on the dollar, just a couple of years later, you will get 100 cents back. What an amazing deal. And so we're going to dig deeper into that as well. All right. Now let's talk about the premium muni bond. And it could be premium any bond, but it's pretty common in the muni world. And here it says, I'm going to pay 107 for the right to earn a coupon. And the scenario may be that the coupon is higher than otherwise. So here it pays $3 every 6 months. And when the program is over, you don't pay me 107 back, you only pay me 100 back. And that's the premium bond. And you can find premium bonds all over the place. Here are muni bonds where you pay 105 and 106 and they give you a coupon of $6. I mean 6%. What an amazing deal. And again, the devil is in the details. So when I say what an amazing deal, I'm not endorsing it. We're going to dig deeper and understand what is happening behind the scenes. All right. So let's figure out how to look at cash flows. We're going to make a couple of simple assumptions to make it easy. We're going to pretend every bond we look at is investment grade. We're going to pretend all the bonds have a duration of 3 years. We're going to pretend the state where we are, the state tax is 5%, and the effective tax, not the marginal tax, but the effective tax. And if that concept is foreign to you, you got to check this episode, which talks about why I use effective tax and not marginal tax. All right, let's do a deep dive into the par bond. Remember the par bond? I pay you 100, I wait, you give me $2 every 6 months, and when the bond matures, you pay me back the 100. All right, let's look at what happens to the money. This is today, this is 3 years out, this is every 6 months. I pay you 100, I'm out 100. You pay me $2, $2, $2. At the end of 3 years, you pay me the last $2 and give me the $100 back, and that is the cash flow. All right, let's look at taxes. To be clear, I am not a tax accountant. This is not tax advice, this is education. So here is the cash flow that we saw earlier. You do need to pay federal taxes. Remember, treasuries are not federal tax exempt. And using that hand grenade number of 20%, 20% of $4 is 80 cents. So here is the 80 cent federal tax. Here is another 80 cent federal tax. Here is another 80 cent federal tax. Treasuries are state tax exempt. You don't pay state tax. Wonderful. And therefore, you have a net cash on hand every 6 months of these numbers shown here. And this simple example, you pay 100, get back 100, you get $2. There is a fancy term here, and you can go to this website or you can search on the internet for yield to maturity calculator. This says if you paid 1,000 for a bond that's valued at 1,000 at the end of 3 years, and it pays an annual coupon of $4 twice a year. That's why it's $2 every 6 months. It's an annual coupon of 4%. Then you are able to make 4% yield to maturity. However, in reality, you saved on state taxes, so it is 6% more than 4% or closer to 4.25% in this scenario, pre-tax. So that is the par bond. It sounds lovely. And the yield to maturity, which is a concept that is used, we would call this as 4% yield to maturity, and realize this is state tax free. All right, let's do a deep dive into the cash flows of a discount bond. A discount bond says I give you $96 up front and I wait. Instead of giving me $2, you give me $1 every 6 months. And at the end of the program, you pay me back $100. Ooh, that sounds exciting. I made an extra $4. So let's look at a couple of real life examples and then the cash flow first. So here is today, here is the 6 month. Remember, I'm out $96 first. You pay me the $1 every 6 months. And at the end of 3 years, you pay me the $100 par value, even though I only paid you $96, and you pay the last $1 coupon. And this looks lovely to me. And so I'm going to start looking at the time value of money to see how much I really made. So here is what happened. Here is the cash flow. Here is the state tax. Remember, in this scenario, we're using a state taxable one. So we're using a muni bond in this example. And whoa, what is that? I thought muni bonds are federal tax exempt. Well, turns out Uncle Sam says, hey, I will give you a really small margin. You got to stay within that margin, meaning if the bond matures in 3 years, you can't get it at a discount of $4 from par value. You made too much money. And I'm not cool with you making that much money. I'm still going to tax you on the excess over the de minimis, as it is called. So you thought you were buying a muni bond at 96 cents on the dollar, when you did the yield to maturity, your yield to maturity would have assumed that all $4 of that are in your pocket. Surprise, surprise, that $4 don't all go into your pocket. The federal government still takes a tax off a portion of it, a good chunk of it, because they say for every year in maturity, we're going to be nice, we're going to give you 25 cents. Meaning, if there was a 1 year to left to mature, then you can buy that bond at $99.75 and not pay ordinary income tax. If indeed you bought it at any discount greater than that, then you will pay federal income tax on it. That's called the de minimis rule. So when you buy a muni bond at a great discount, you will get slammed. And oh, by the way, I put an asterisk next to the state tax. Google your home state. There are some states where even if you lived in that home state and you bought a muni bond that was issued by that home state, in theory, it should be completely tax-free, meaning you don't pay federal taxes and you don't pay state taxes, except there are many states that say we need that money. Illinois is one of them. So if you buy a bond issued by an Illinois state entity and you live in Illinois, you still pay the state tax. So the deal doesn't look as awesome once you think that once you realize you're going to have to pay taxes. And so when you buy a bargain bond, a bargain muni bond, and you run the yield to maturity calculation, first of all, in these days, the muni bond yields are not that high. They are at 3-something%. And even after that, once you chop the de minimis, the money that is left in your bank is south of 3%. And you can find these kinds of bonds that are trading at 90 cents on the dollar very easily by looking at bonds that give a coupon of 0.5%, for example. Because the interest rates are 5%, a coupon of 0.5% would trade at a great discount today. But if you think I'm going to get a really high yield to maturity because somebody is, letting me buy their bond at 90 cents, but as soon as it matures, they're going to give me $1. What a big yield jump. It really is not true because you get taxed, so be careful. Again, you should consult with your tax attorney. This is education. Let's look at some discounted munis, and you can see it happening. Here are some discounted munis like the COVID type munis. This is probably a 5-year muni bond that was issued in 2020, and it gave a coupon of 0.75%. It matures in November 2025. It trades at 92 cents on the dollar. That remaining 7.18 cents on the dollar, you will get bitten. So even though the yield to maturity is 3.97%, which itself is not good enough, because the Fed, the treasuries trade at 5.5%, even though you can have a federal income tax offset, it does not make up for it. You also lose on de minimis on that bond. All right, let's look at premium bonds, see what we learned there. Again, I'm going to go after munis only because there is a lot going on in that world right now. But you can illustrate the same thing using corporate bonds, using any bonds. There are bonds that always trade on a premium. If their coupon is far higher than the prevailing interest rates, the bonds will generally command a premium. But you need to be smart about looking at the tax basis, because you may end up getting a premium. You may be willing to pay a premium. However, you also don't want to lose on paying federal taxes. All right. As you may remember, the premium muni bond, you pay $107 up front, and it gives a phenomenal coupon, $3 every 6 months. You get all excited about it. And when the bond matures, however, you don't get $107 back. You only get $100 back. So let's walk through the cash flows. Here is today. You pay $107. You get this really nice coupon. You are super excited about it. And when the bond matures, you get the very last coupon of $3 plus 100, which is the par value. You don't get 107, even though you paid a premium. So let's look at the tax implications and money in your bank. Yes, you do have this scenario evolving where you are 107 out on day one and 103 when the bond matures. And we go back to our infamous, in a scenario of a muni bond, you will end up paying the de minimis tax. If you're in the wrong state, you will end up paying the state tax. The federal tax, even if you bought it at a lower amount, even if you did not get it at a big discount. If you work out the savings, if you worked it out and said, I saved X percent, the yield to maturity, because you paid $7 extra, the extra $7 is not given to you in cash. It gets recorded as what is called a tax offset. What does that mean? You get to take your taxable income, and a 3-year bond is long term, and you can say that $7 comes off my taxable income. Did that help you? Did that not help you? You really need to have a long term capital gain in order to offset it with the tax loss. In other words, if you paid more than 100, that extra amount is paid back to you in a very different manner. The truth of the matter is there are concepts called accretion, and they are a little more complicated than I would like to review. So you don't take all $7 at the end. You could in method 1. In method 2, you can distribute the $7 in a straight line, or you can draw a curve, but you can chomp away at the tax loss over a period of time. But all of this assumes that somehow by magic you have gains during the year that you can offset the loss. Otherwise, you really don't make out by paying a premium on that muni bond. As a matter of fact, using that exact cash flow, paying $1,070 for a $1,000 bond or $107 for a $100 bond that matures in 3 years, even if it pays a coupon rate of 6% or $3 every 6 months, the yield to maturity is only 3.5. Now remember, even that 3.5 will get bit, because you will need to say pay federal taxes if you have different scenarios. Even if you say I have federal tax savings of 20% and add 0.7 to it, that only gets it up to 4.2, and you can get T-bills and treasuries that pay much, much higher. Long story short, the only way the economics of this works is that if you have a tax gain that you want to offset, or you are so focused on the 6% coupon that you're willing to pay extra now, and in your mind lock in that 6% coupon over a long period of time, even though the value of your money over time is lower. Again, you may want to do it for your reasons, but if you can put your money in a bank that makes 5.5% and your money in a bank that makes 3.5 plus the tax savings, even that only puts it at 4.2%. If you're the kind of person who would like to put your money in the lower interest rate, you do you. I make different decisions. All right, here are examples of muni bonds that are trading at that $5 and $6 dollar premium over 100. The coupon rate is amazing. You look at 6% and you go, wow, I can lock in a 6% coupon, except you're paying $5 and $6 extra up front. And ta-da, the yield to maturity is barely cracking $3. And remember, the extra premium you paid is a tax offset. So if you don't have a taxable gain at the end of 3 years, then you don't even get that back. So watch out, make smart decisions. Buying at a premium is something you really need to think through, and be very careful, calculate yield to maturity before you proceed. What does it mean for the rest of 2023? Here's what I take out of it. I continue to play Yield Super Bowl. You can go to yieldnerd.com. You can see by duration on a pre-tax basis. So the work is done there. We adjust the treasuries, bump it up by the state tax, so you can look at it pre-tax. Corporates don't get adjusted because there is no tax advantage there. Munis get adjusted by federal income tax. So you can kind of see, given all the durations, what makes sense. And we are in an increasing interest rate environment, so you may not want to go to long-term durations yet until the interest rate stabilizes. So where does all of this leave us? My instinct is to just stay with short-term treasuries, 3 months, 6 months, things like that. Here and there, I might pick a really small amount, 5%, 10% of the investment, put it in longer-term agency bonds because their yields are very nice. There are very special circumstances in which I would buy value equities in sectors that are essential. Otherwise, wherever this bull run is, I'll just sit tight and wait for the bull run And if it happens, I'll jump into equities, but I'm very happy with the 5.5% plus state tax that we get today. You do you. Thank you for listening to Yield Nerd. Questions, comments, yieldnerd@gmail.com. Thank you.